I always believed that love was a promise, a beacon amid life's chaos. My name is Travis Monroe, and a few years ago I willingly traded the cutthroat pace of my corporate career for the warmth of a family life with my wife, Melanie, and our two young children. We settled in a charming home in a lively Miami suburb, where mornings were scented with fresh citrus and the ocean breeze, and evenings melted into the soft glow of neon reflections on palm-lined streets. At first, our life in Miami was a dream, one of sunlit mornings, laughter shared over breakfast on our back porch, and quiet moments spent together watching the waves crash along the shore. Melanie was my confidant and partner, the one whose smile could light up the darkest Miami night. I prided myself on the sacrifices I had made to build our future, believing that each compromise was a brick in the strong foundation of our love. Yet beneath the shimmer of our idyllic life, subtle hints began to emerge like mirages in the heat. I noticed small things at first. A text left unanswered a minute too long. A fleeting moment when her laughter, once unburdened, seemed to falter. In the soft light of early evenings, when the air was still warm from the day's sun, I began to wonder if there were gaps in the story she told about her work and her business trips. I chalked these up to the hectic pace of our new life in Miami, convinced that the vibrant energy of the city sometimes left her distracted. Late one humid evening, as the sky burned with the last embers of sunset and the neon signs began to flicker to life, Melanie announced that she was leaving on a business trip. "I have an important meeting in Fort Lauderdale," she explained with a practiced smile. I hugged her tightly, believing in the promises we had made. But as I watched her drive away into the city's labyrinth of palm trees and endless highways, a quiet disquiet took root in my heart, an unspoken question that I buried beneath the routine of daily life. That night, as our children slept and the hum of Miami's nightlife whispered through open windows, I sat alone with my leather journal. I recorded every small detail of the day, the lingering kiss goodbye, the way her eyes briefly flitted to her phone before she left, the extra minutes she took to gather her things. I tried to reassure myself that these were minor anomalies, merely the natural imperfections of a busy life. Yet deep within, a seed of suspicion had been planted, a seed that would soon grow into something I could no longer ignore. In the days that followed Melanie's departure, our home grew quieter than usual. The once lively din of shared laughter at the dinner table was replaced by a tentative hush, as if the very walls sensed that something was amiss. When Melanie returned from her business trip, her recounting of the events was clipped, her voice measured. There was a hesitation in her tone that was hard to dismiss. A fleeting pause before she mentioned the details of her schedule, a momentary flicker in her eyes when she casually referenced a colleague's name. Every night, after our children had gone to bed and the house settled into a reflective stillness, I would retreat to my study. Under the gentle glow of my desk lamp, I began to pour my thoughts onto the pages of my journal. I recorded the precise time she left and returned, the brief pauses in our conversation when her laughter sounded forced, and the subtle changes in her expression that suggested she was guarding a secret. At first, I told myself these were nothing more than the minor frictions of a hectic schedule. A busy life in Miami, after all, could make anyone seem distracted. But as the entries accumulated, a disquieting pattern emerged, a tapestry of anomalies that no longer felt trivial. One particularly overcast afternoon, as the rain softly tapped against the window and the city outside wore a melancholy heat, I finally mustered the courage to ask, "How was your trip?" I sipped my lukewarm coffee while trying to mask the tremor in my voice. Her response was brisk. "It was fine, just the usual meetings." But as she spoke, I noticed her eyes flicker toward her phone, and I detected a subtle tension in her features that I had never seen before. My heart sank at that moment. I began timing her absences, tracking the length of her phone calls, and even noting the names that occasionally flashed across her screen, names that were unfamiliar, that stirred a dark curiosity in me. Night after night, the questions multiplied in the silence of our home. I wondered if I had sacrificed too much of myself for the sake of our family, if the promise of unwavering love was nothing more than a delicate, fragile illusion. Despite clinging to the hope that our bond was strong enough to endure, the mounting evidence, the prolonged silences, the furtive glances, the vague responses, spoke of something more insidious eroding the very foundation of our life together. By the end of a particularly tense week, those quiet doubts had evolved into an overwhelming need for certainty. I realized that ignoring these ominous signs might exact a price far greater than the pain of confronting them. With a heavy heart and trembling resolve, I braced myself for what was to come. knowing that each passing moment increased the risk of losing not only our trust, the future we had once dreamed of. Late one sultry evening, when Melanie once again announced she was leaving for a business trip, my heart pounded with a mix of dread and desperate determination. The seeds of suspicion that had long been gathering now burst forth into a palpable need for truth. I resolved that I could no longer remain passive, burdened by a heart heavy with doubts and unanswered questions. Under the dim light of Miami's humid twilight, I slipped out of our home with trembling resolve, intent on following her to discover what lay beneath her carefully constructed excuses. The familiar streets of Miami, usually bathed in the comforting glow of streetlights, had transformed that night. Neon reflections shimmered on the rain-drenched pavement, turning the city into a surreal tapestry of color and shadow, a city that seemed to pulse with secrets. My mind raced as I trailed her along these altered paths, a route I thought I knew well now leading me into the unknown. Every step I took was weighted with apprehension and the desperate hope that I might finally unravel the mystery of her departures. At first, Melanie moved confidently with a small group of colleagues, laughing, talking, and exuding a professionalism that once filled me with admiration. But gradually, she broke away from the group, her pace slowing as she veered down a quieter, unfamiliar street. My pulse quickened with each footfall, as the ambient noise of the city faded into an eerie silence. Shadows lengthened around me, and with every step, the sense of foreboding deepened. I maintained a discreet distance, my eyes fixed on her figure until she reached a sleek, upscale resort, a venue that radiated luxury and intimacy far removed from the cold, impersonal halls of corporate offices. I parked my car a short distance away and found a hidden vantage point near a large window. There, bathed in soft ambient light, I saw Melanie step through the grand lobby. For a moment, she appeared alone, her expression serene. But then, as if drawn by fate, a handsome stranger emerged. His presence was magnetic, his features refined, and his demeanor exuding a warmth and charm that contrasted sharply with cold professionalism I had come to expect. I later learned his name was Ryder Stone, a name that now reverberated in my mind like a bitter verdict. Their interaction was intimate, a shared laugh, gentle touches, and a look of secret familiarity that sent a chill through my very soul. I fumbled with my phone, desperately capturing every fragment of the scene, the echo of their laughter, the soft, whispered words that carried the warmth of genuine intimacy, the way her hand rested lightly in his. Every detail seared itself into my memory, painting a picture that was starkly at odds with the story she had spun. This was not a business trip, it was a hidden vacation, a carefully orchestrated escape, fueled by desire and betrayal, that repaid my sacrifices with heartbreak. Returning home in a daze, my hands trembling and my mind awash with bitter realization, I locked myself in my study. There, beneath the unyielding light of my desk lamp, I poured every agonizing detail into my journal. I wrote of the way her eyes glimmered with secret delight in his presence, of the subtle tilt of her head as she listened to his every word, and of the tender cadence of her laughter that now rang with a note of defiance. Each entry was a searing reminder of the life I had believed in, a life built on shared dreams and unwavering trust, now crumbling under the weight of deception. In that long, painful night, I vowed that I would not allow this betrayal to remain hidden, that the truth, however excruciating, must be confronted for the sake of reclaiming what little honor remained. In the days that followed my heart-wrenching discovery, I transformed my personal anguish into a relentless, single-minded quest for irrefutable proof. Every minor detail, every anomalous behavior that I had once dismissed as a mere quirk, became a vital piece of the puzzle that would expose Melanie's systematic betrayal. I plunged into her digital world with intensity that left me both emotionally spent and unyieldingly determined. I sifted through her phone records, scrutinized her social media profiles, and dissected every conversation with an obsession that blurred the line between vigilance and despair. Each late-night text, every unexpected call, and every fleeting name that scrolled across her screen was recorded in my journal with painstaking care, as if each was a droplet contributing to an ever-growing reservoir of evidence. I devoted countless hours to poring over every digital conversation. I saved screenshots of messages that, on the surface, appeared strictly businesslike, yet on closer inspection were filled with flirtatious banter and explicit declarations of longing. These messages, masquerading as professional correspondence, revealed a raw, unfiltered passion directed toward another man. Every such revelation was like a jagged shard of glass slicing through the foundation of trust one had so meticulously built. Not content with textual evidence alone, I gathered every photo and short video clip I had managed to capture outside the resort. I spent sleepless nights digitizing these visual fragments and integrating them seamlessly with the screenshots of intimate exchanges. With painstaking precision, I constructed a detailed timeline that spanned several weeks, a timeline that revealed how each of Melanie's business trips had gradually morphed into a series of clandestine getaways. Every entry was annotated with exact dates, precise times, and even the specific locations of these hidden rendezvous. Slowly but inexorably, the dossier emerged as a damning mosaic, a visual and written testament to a systematic betrayal that left no room for denial. Yet even as the physical evidence mounted, I found myself gripped by a profound internal conflict. In the lonely hours of the night, I would sit alone before the compiled files, the digital relics of my shattered trust, and wonder if my relentless pursuit of proof was slowly eroding the compassionate man I once was. Was I in danger of losing the gentle, forgiving soul that had once believed so deeply in the sanctity of our family? Each time such doubts crept in, I would force myself to recall the tender, secret moments I had witnessed between Melanie and Ryder, the soft smiles they exchanged, the hushed words laden with desire, and that memory only further hardened my resolve. The bitter truth, as painful as it was, became undeniable. The cost of betrayal was far too high to allow even a trace of compassion to remain unchallenged. By the end of an agonizing week, my dossier was complete, a comprehensive, unassailable chronicle of every lie, every furtive meeting, every stolen moment of intimacy that had defiled the very foundation of our shared future. As I pored over the final pages of my journal, my hands trembling and my heart heavy with the accumulated evidence, I knew that soon the time would come to confront Melanie with this damning truth. When that moment arrived, nothing would be able to hide the systematic betrayal I had so painstakingly documented. The dossier was not merely a collection of evidence. It was the embodiment of every broken promise, every sacrifice repaid in deceit, a mirror reflecting the painful reality I could no longer ignore. With a heavy heart and a resolve forged in sorrow and tempered by relentless determination, I closed my journal and surveyed the amassed files on my desk. In that quiet, dark moment, I felt a transformation take hold, a metamorphosis from the compassionate, hopeful man I once was into someone driven by an unyielding need to force the truth into the unforgiving light. Every page, every meticulously recorded detail, was a battle cry against the deception that had so irreparably. I steeled myself for the inevitable confrontation, knowing that this dossier would serve as the unyielding testament to the betrayal that had shattered my world. The day of reckoning arrived beneath the leaden sky that mirrored the crushing weight of my grief and the turbulent storm of emotions raging within me. I had prepared for this day for what felt like an eternity, a day when every hidden truth would be forced into the harsh, unforgiving light. I invited Melanie to our home under the pretext of discussing our future, a final, desperate attempt to salvage the remnants of our once sacred dreams. In our living room, which had once been a sanctuary of laughter and shared memories, I meticulously arranged the dossier on the coffee table. Printed photographs, detailed journal entries, and digital recordings were laid out like silent witnesses, each one an irrefutable testament to the systematic betrayal I had uncovered. When Melanie entered, the confident smile I had once cherished faltered as her eyes fell upon the damning evidence. For a long, suffocating moment, neither of us uttered a word. The air was thick with unspoken accusations and a palpable heaviness of despair. Then, with a voice trembling between heartbreak and seething anger, I broke the silence. "Melanie," I began, each syllable weighted with sorrow and fury. "I sacrificed everything for our family. I gave up a promising career, my ambitions, everything, to build a future with you. And now I see that all those promises were nothing but illusions." Her eyes widened in shock, and she stammered weakly, insisting it was just a mistake, a lapse born of loneliness, she claimed. But every piece of evidence, every recorded detail, rendered her feeble explanations hollow and meaningless. I recounted, with painstaking clarity, every late night, every secret call, every intimate message that confirmed the betrayal. Each word fell like a hammer blow upon the fragile foundation of trust we had so dearly built. As her defenses crumbled into quiet sobs, I warned her that the truth was now irrevocably exposed, and that the price of my sacrifice demanded consequences far beyond mere apologies. With my heart aching and my spirit hardened by months of silent suffering, I turned away and left her alone in our home. a home that now echoed with the silence of shattered dreams and broken promises. Stepping out into the chill afternoon, I vowed that Melanie, and by extension, the man who had stolen our future, would soon have to face the full consequences of their actions. My sacrifice was too profound to be repaid with deception, and I knew that the next chapter of this painful journey would demand retribution, a reckoning that would force every broken promise into the unforgiving light of truth. Every step I took away from that house felt heavy with the weight of every lost dream and every unspoken word, and I knew in my heart that there would be no turning back. In the bitter days that followed our confrontation, the raw anguish that had once threatened to engulf me began to crystallize into a steely resolve for vengeance. I threw myself into advanced self-defense classes and spent countless hours at the gym, channeling my pain into physical strength. Every drop of sweat, every bruise earned during those grueling workouts, became a tangible reminder of the determination now burning within me, a determination to reclaim the dignity that had been so ruthlessly stripped away. With each disciplined movement, I felt a part of me rising from the ashes, slowly piecing together the man I once was. Simultaneously, I delved deep into the world of the man who had betrayed us, a suave figure whose polished charm had masked vulnerabilities I was now determined to exploit. I sought out acquaintances, gathered information from quiet conversations, and scoured his social media profiles with a precision that bordered on obsession. Piece by piece, I constructed a detailed profile that revealed the human flaws hidden behind his immaculate facade. Every reckless decision he had made, every careless moment he had dismissed, became ammunition in my growing arsenal of vengeance. I recorded each detail meticulously in my journal, the precise words he used in casual conversation, the subtle shifts in his tone when discussing his work, the rare moments when his facade cracked, even for an instant. Each fragment of information reinforced my resolve. I would hold him accountable for every broken promise and every stolen moment of intimacy that had defiled our future. Late at night, in the oppressive solitude of our now quiet home, I poured my conflicted emotions onto the pages of my journal. I wrestled with the fear that my relentless pursuit of retribution might ultimately consume the compassionate man I once was, a man who had believed in forgiveness and the sanctity of our family. But every time that doubt arose, I recalled the tender, forbidden moments I had witnessed between Melanie and that man, the soft, intimate laughs, the secretive glances, the lingering touch that spoke of desire, and my resolve burned ever brighter. I began to devise a plan with the cold precision of a man who felt he had nothing left to lose. I chose a chic, upscale restaurant, a venue where my betrayer frequently hosted business dinners and where Melanie had once shone with confidence, as the stage for the next act in this unfolding tragedy. Every detail was mapped out meticulously. The exact time of the confrontation, the layout of the dining room with its intimate corners and soft, ambient lighting, and the precise sequence of actions that would force a public reckoning. I vowed that the retribution I sought would not only restore my honor, but also serve as a stark, unyielding warning. The price of betrayal is steep and must be repaid in full. The seeds of vengeance, planted deep within the shattered remnants of my heart, grew stronger with every painful memory. I spent countless sleepless nights haunted by the image of Melanie laughing intimately with that man, the lingering touch of his hand on hers, the secret glances exchanged in the shadows. Even as I sometimes questioned whether this dark path might ultimately erode the remnants of the compassionate man I had once been, those vivid images eclipsed any lingering doubts. I pledged that no matter the cost, I would force a reckoning that left both of them irrevocably scarred by the truth, a reckoning that would expose every deception and cast our once sacred vows into the unforgiving light of reality. Every new piece of evidence, every minute detail I recorded, felt like a small victory, a step closer to reclaiming the dignity that had been so brutally ripped from me. I chronicled every clandestine call, every furtive text, every shadowed meeting until my dossier grew into a towering monument to betrayal. With each new page, my determination hardened, transforming the pain of each memory into fuel for a burning, unquenchable desire for retribution. Under a sky heavy with dark clouds and a relentless drizzle that transformed Miami's neon glow into a shifting mosaic of sorrow, the night of reckoning finally arrived. It was as if the heavens themselves mourned the collapse of everything I had held dear. Madeline had announced yet another evening out, a routine cloaked in the guise of professional obligation, and I knew with a certainty that pounded in my chest that she would be drawn to the upscale restaurant where Blake Monroe, her suave and self-assured betrayer, conducted his business with unassailable confidence. I parked my car in a narrow, shadowed alley, the slick pavement reflecting fractured neon signs like broken shards of a once bright promise. I sat there in agonizing silence, my heart pounding in tandem with the steady, mournful cadence of the rain. Each droplet that fell seemed to echo the relentless toll of my grief, and the cold night air wrapped around me like a shroud of impending fate. With a final, resolute breath, I stepped out of my car and crossed the slick pavement, the chill biting at my skin as I approached the looming entrance of the restaurant, a modern coliseum where fates would be irrevocably sealed. From the tinted windows of my vehicle, I watched as Madeline emerged into the rain-soaked night. The woman I had once known, radiant, warm, and full of promise, now moved with a subdued, almost ghostly elegance that betrayed the intimate secrets she shared. The rain glistened on her hair, softening her features, while her eyes, dark with hidden sorrow, flickered with an unspoken truth. Beside her, Blake strode confidently, his every step a testament to the polished charm that had so long deceived me. Every casual touch, every fleeting caress between them, was a public declaration of the betrayal that had haunted me for so long. With deliberate, measured resolve, I left the sanctuary of my car and advanced into the stormy night. The rain mingled with the sweat on my skin as I approached the entrance, each step echoing the bitter rhythm of my shattered heart. Inside the restaurant, the atmosphere was deceptively calm, a gentle murmur of conversations, the soft clink of glassware, and ambient lighting that bathed the space in a serene glow. I navigated through the crowd with a single-minded focus until I reached a secluded booth in the far corner where Madeline and Blake sat, lost in their private world of whispered secrets and tender gestures. For what felt like an eternity, I absorbed the scene before, the soft cadence of their shared laughter, the lingering touches that spoke of intimacy and betrayal, the exchanged glances that confirmed every painful suspicion. In that suspended moment, the air itself seemed charged with the raw energy of impending retribution. Every second stretched out painfully, each heartbeat a countdown to the inevitable confrontation. Then, unable to contain the storm raging within me any longer, I emerged from the shadows. The transformation was immediate and shattering. Madeline's face contorted into a raw, anguished mask, a blend of horror, disbelief, and deep, unspoken regret that shattered the remnants of our once sacred love. Blake's confident facade crumbled as I lunged forward, every movement charged with the months of pent-up anguish and silent suffering. I struck him with a series of precise, calculated blows, each impact resonating like the toll of a final bell that signaled the end of everything I had once believed. The restaurant erupted into chaos, gasps, murmurs, and the clamor of overturned chairs. As I unleashed my fury upon them both, I shouted declarations of betrayal and recited the litany of sacrifices I had made, ensuring that every witness in that room felt the crushing weight of my retribution. In that brutal, chaotic moment, the private sanctuary of our intimacy was violently torn asunder, exposed for all to see in the unforgiving glare of public scrutiny. When, at last, the tumult subsided and a heavy, sorrowful silence fell over the room, I slipped away into the rain-drenched night. Each step away from that scene was laden with a bittersweet knowledge that nothing could ever restore what had been lost. And yet, in that fleeting, excruciating moment, I had reclaimed a shred of my honor from the depths of betrayal, a small victory in a war that had cost me everything. In the days that followed that fateful night, the world seemed to slow to a mournful cadence, a heavy, lingering silence that enveloped every corner of my existence. I returned to our once vibrant home, a place that now stood as a monument to shattered dreams and irrevocable choices. The walls, which had once resounded with laughter and shared promises, now whispered bitter secrets and regrets. Although the physical wounds inflicted during that violent confrontation would eventually fade, like bruises that slowly lose their color, the deep emotional scars, the searing pain of betrayal, and the crushing weight of my sacrifice were etched indelibly into my soul. They became a constant, unyielding reminder of that night, a spectral ledger of every broken promise and every unhealed wound. News of the confrontation spread quietly through our community, whispered behind closed doors, shared in hushed tones among neighbors who now looked upon me with a mix of pity and wariness. I had become a symbol, a man both pitied and feared, whose desperate quest for retribution had forced hidden sins into the unforgiving light of public scrutiny. Official inquiries passed in a blur of bureaucratic formalities, their impersonal questions a distant echo compared to the storm of guilt and sorrow that raged within me. Yet, the true burden of my actions lay solely with the ceaseless, unanswerable question of whether any act of vengeance could ever restore what had been so irrevocably shattered. In the aftermath, Madeline vanished from our home as if swallowed by the darkness she had long concealed. Her absence left behind a cavernous void, a space filled with unanswered questions, bitter regret, and the echo of a love betrayed beyond repair. Blake, too, receded into obscurity, a mere shadow, diminished by the heavy consequences of his choices. I found myself standing alone amidst the ruins of a future that had once promised so much, forever altered by the irreversible path of retribution I had chosen. In the solitude of my study, a room that had once been a sanctuary for hope and creative dreams, I began a new journal, one that bore the raw, unfiltered account of my journey from sacrifice to betrayal, and from that betrayal to the steep, unyielding pursuit of vengeance. Every page was a chronicle of the bitter irony that, in giving up my career and ambitions to build a family, I had envisioned a future founded on unwavering trust. Instead, I discovered that our foundation had been shattered by secrets, lies, and forbidden intimacy, a truth that echoed in every silent corner of our now empty home. Every word I penned was a struggle, a battle between a fragile hope for redemption and the stark, unyielding reality that some wounds never fully heal. I recorded the whispers of confessions that haunted the night, the ghostly remnants of laughter that had turned to silence, and the heavy toll of every broken promise. As dawn broke on a misty morning, the pale light of a new day barely pierced the thick veil of sorrow that clung to my heart. I stood at a crossroads, scarred in both body and soul, uncertain if I could ever truly move forward. And yet, amid the overwhelming grief and lingering regret, I resolved that my story would serve as a cautionary chronicle, a testament to the fragile nature of trust and the steep, irreversible price of deception. Perhaps, in time, these scars might guide me toward a path of reluctant healing, a slow, arduous journey toward a peace that now seemed almost unattainable. Now, as I step forward into an uncertain future, I carry with me both the legacy of my sacrifice and the heavy burden of my retribution. I have become both the avenger and the wounded, a man forever marked by broken promises and the forbidden intimacy that stole away my dreams. In the quiet moments before each new day, as the darkness of night yields to the tentative glow of dawn, I allow myself a fragile hope that one day, redemption might emerge from these ruins. Until that uncertain dawn arrives, I remain a living testament to one bitter truth. The price of betrayal is steep, and the pursuit of vengeance, even if it offers fleeting, brutal relief, leaves behind a legacy of sorrow, irrevocable change, and a heart that may never fully mend. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed this journey, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories like this one. Got thoughts or experiences you'd like to share? Drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.